What was the weirdest part of the pandemic? I live a block away from a very busy highway. While I never really noticed the sound of the highway, when it was gone, the silence was amazing. We live under a flight path. I like watching the planes and you get used to it. It took me a few months to realize how quiet it was because it's not something I actively noticed. They are back now, and although I miss the quiet, it is nice to see that people are able to go about life again. Now my son, who was in my belly during the first wave, loves watching them too. I lived under a flight path as well, for air ambulances. You could tell when things were getting hairy again by the amount of traffic going to and from the downtown hospital. For mine, it's a photo of the priest baptizing a baby from a distance with a water pistol. Pure absurdity. Sorry, I'm too inept to put the picture in here. I got off fairly lightly compared to most of COVID. My city was closed only for a matter of weeks. Nobody I know was ventilated or passed from it, so my experience is different to most, and for that I'm grateful, while remaining aware of my good fortune. Sorry, I'm too inept to put the picture in here. Here it is for anyone else curious. I remember some of the restaurants near me started selling groceries during lockdown. It was so weird walking past a high-end restaurant known for its oysters, only to see stacks of toilet paper, 6 packs of beer, non-perishable foods, etc. in its window. One for the restaurants near me started selling pizza kits with their amazing dough. I was very sad when they stopped doing that. That sounds awesome. And a smart way for them to stay in business. Too bad they didn't keep it up. I bought a 2-liter bottle of milk from the McDonald's drive-through. It was a political ploy early on, so they'd be classed as an essential retailer and be permitted to stay open, but still very convenient. I bought some toilet paper from Denny's. I got a prostate exam in a Denny's bathroom for free. How the wildlife started walking through towns as soon as the stay-at-home orders took full effect, and turtles started laying eggs on beaches again. Wildlife doesn't need rehabilitation. It needs to be left the fuck alone, both from direct and indirect disturbance. And the pictures of all the cities. No cars on the roads, and the skies were actually clear blue instead of smog. I work in Manhattan. I worked in the office of a grocery store at the time, so I was one of the few people who worked. It was fucking eerie as shit. In the very early days, the city was just empty. There was no one walking down the street, no cars, no one on the subway. There were times when I was literally the only person on an entire train. Not just the car I was in, the whole train. It was like I Am Legend. It was some truly freaky, bizarre shit. How fast time went for me. I feel like I lived in a time bubble. Went in early 2020, came out late 2022. I'm still not sure if it's been like 3 months or 20 years since it happened. It feels like an entire lifetime ago, but at the same time, I swear it was just 2019. It's been one of the weirdest time warps for me, and I hope I never experience it again. I'm not sure I'm out of it. I still work from home. I still barely leave the house. My social circle did not survive. I don't remember 2020, one at all. My sense of time was skewed. 2020 blended into early 2022. I still have to think twice about when certain events happen. By now, I'd be completely used to the New Year number, but it still feels weird saying it's 2023 despite being close to a third into it. A 2020 season 3 is going to be lit. The usual markings of passage of time were gone. Christmas, Easter, national holidays, summer festivals, etc. were cancelled. You couldn't host any memorable events yourself either. There was nothing to mark the passage of 2021 and 2020 with. Each day, week, month felt slow, but in hindsight, all these days, weeks, month feel indistinguishable, and in memory, they morph into one single blob of the pandemic. Same. 2020 was obviously memorable. 2022, I feel like we started coming out of it a bit and things were getting better. 2021, I know it happened, but I remember nothing. 2021 had that like Indian summer period after the vaccine, where there was this false sense of hope leading into Delta and then Omicron. I've never even thought about this until you just pointed it out. What the actual fuck? I'm not over-exaggerating when I say I was just sat staring into space for a solid minute or so trying to pinpoint what events actually happened in 2020. It's all skewed in my head. Biden elected Jan 6 riot. Trump impeached Myanmar coup. Free Hong Kong. One division worldwide wildfires. Mike Pompeo declared China's treatment of Uyghur people as genocide. Alexei Navalny arrested in Russia after recovering from nerve. Agent poisoning gem. Wall Street collapsed. NASA landed Perseverance. Rover on Mars. NASA flew the Ingenuity drone on Mars, Texas. Froze and Ted Cruz flew to Cancun. Ever given Suez Canal blockage. George Floyd trial and riots. Residential school. Mass graves. Discovered nuclear fusion. Achieved for the first time. Kabul fell to the Taliban. Squid Game. Gabby Peter Alec Baldwin. Shoots another actor. Astroworld crowd surge. Trampling James Webb Telescope. Launched. I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Edit. Also, a lobsterman was swallowed by a humpback whale and survived, and a video of a tortoise hunting and eating a live seagull went viral. I also omitted a bunch of shootings, bombings, riots, and migrant ships sinking because there are far too many to list here. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. Any type of party on Zoom. And drive by birthday parties and graduation parties. Our community did a drive-by party for a 103-year-old Pearl Harbor survivor. Since we knew we weren't going to do parades or festivals anytime soon, this became the event of the year. If I remember, there were over 600 vehicles involved. Our congressman sat on the lawn with a birthday boy at a safe distance away from him, of course. All the local beauty queens showed up. Motorcycles, vintage cars, and even a few floats. We made the local news. My car's front bumper was televised for a few seconds. These wholesome moments are what I need to remember. The rest of the shit was just too dark. Dude, I got invited to a Zoom happy hour, and watching all your co-workers get wine drunk in their pajamas in their living rooms was a level of intimacy I could have done without. Pretty much every commercial kept reminding us we were living in unprecedented times for a few months, and I hated it. INTHEUNCERTAINTIM. When people first started wearing masks, and they were sold out everywhere, so people had to improvise and create their own mask with weird random supplies from home. LA, filling an outdoor skate park with sand and arresting someone for swimming all by themselves in the ocean. In retrospect, it's a real shame that we were so worried about transmission outdoors. Feel like it would have been a lot more tolerable if everyone had been encouraged to go hang out outside. British Columbia was one of the few jurisdictions in North America, and possibly the world, that encouraged people to go outside. We also ended up having one of the lowest death rates in the America. Other Canadian provinces were more worried about stopping people from using parks than protecting seniors in nursing homes. My most memorable BP pandemic moment was when the Department of Health and Chemo encouraged safe sex with glory holes. That was hysterical. Waiting in a lineup outside of the grocery store. Everyone had to stand on a sticker to stay properly distanced from one another, and security would wait until someone left before letting another person inside. No such thing as a quick shop during those times. Yes, how'd I forget about this? In those days, it was a huge deal going to the store, masking up, walking around inside, like it was the fucking end of times. King, home and Lysol. Ing, home and Lysol. Ing, everything. Just wild. Toilet paper hoarding. I'd add bottled water to this. I remember going to Costco and people were trying to buy like 5 cases of water and toilet paper. I was diagnosed with late-stage cancer on March 13, 2020, so I missed out on seeing stuff for myself. But a friend of mine sent pictures of just aisles and aisles of the grocery store. We go to being completely empty. It was wild. I worked at a grocery store. The wild part was, legit people went crazy the day after elections, like they waited to announce that COVID was hitting us until then. And then people ransacked the stores, and we ran out of toilet paper, masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer. So people started making their own makeshift masks. I kid you not, I will never forget getting cussed out for running out of toilet paper by a man with a bra on his face as a mask. I mean, I saw someone with a hazmat suit. Someone came in with those giant inflatable T-Rex costumes. Someone came in with a horse mask. Someone came in dressed as Spider-Man. Someone came in with a grocery bag on their mouth. Someone tied string bikini bottoms around their head. Anything that covered their mouth was grocery store attire. And I cannot believe that no one mentioned this yet on this post. I feel like I was in some weird, drug-induced dream, and it never happened. How are you doing now? 2 years cancer-free. It's unfortunately a chronic cancer, so it's not a matter of if but when it comes back. Just trying to keep plugged-in and enjoy my healthy times. My personal favorite was how every time there was a COVID spike, a bunch of candles online would suddenly get hundreds of one-star reviews because the candle didn't smell like anything. I forgot about that. Weirdest public health indicator ever. Yes, and they were able to track COVID-19 outbreaks in nursing homes by temperatures trending higher as reported by internet-connected digital thermometers. A fun game I started playing was Googling is blank a COVID symptom. The answer is always yes. I have yet to find any symptom bodily ailment, no matter how mild or severe, that no one was somehow linked to COVID. It all started when I had the hiccups and could not get rid of them. For some reason, Googled hiccups and COVID and convinced myself I definitely had COVID. Tiger King. True. Let's not forget about Doc Antlethorpe. A fun game I started playing was Googling is blank a COVID symptom. The answer is always yes. I have yet to find any symptom, bodily ailment, no matter how mild or severe, that no one was somehow linked to COVID. It all started when I had the hiccups and could not get rid of them. For some reason, Googled hiccups and COVID and convinced myself I definitely had COVID. Came here to say this. People all over the country were sent home and didn't know what to do. And so many of us were spending our empty time on Netflix with no ideas what else to do. Tiger King came out at the perfect time that we needed to binge all in on something crazy. It was so nuts but so bingeable. Literally the whole country got into it to pass the time and keep their minds off the insanity we were dealing with. I always got a kick out of it that so many nationwide all experienced this at the same time due to the global emergency we were all experiencing. Come on, man, his music videos. Obviously those animals deserved better, but we were seeing the aftermath. Many had already gone on to better situations. That dude that took it over next was a train wreck, but also supremely entertaining. Then, this mofo decided to beg Trump for a pardon and then to actually run for president. I was shocked at the sheer number of people defending him and acting like he wasn't a terrible person. Going for a hike in the woods, seeing absolutely no one but still finding masks littered at the trailhead. Playing Animal Crossing for 12 hours a day. Staying up until 5 a.m. for the new day to start so I can get my house upgrade. It's like a perfect time capsule too, since I added so many 2020 memes into my island through the image thing. When a bunch of celebrities sang a John Lennon song thinking it'd inspire people or some shit. One of my very first whole pandemic moments was that vid of a flippant Madonna in her tub. Celebrities were on some other shit there for a few weeks. We're all on the same boat, like I read somewhere at that time. No, we're fucking not. We may be on the same ocean, but celebrities are on their yachts, while the rest of the world is hanging onto a floating piece of wood. I'm not saying that they weren't allowed to complain or to feel bad because the rest of the world was having a worse time, but it felt so out of touch and insensitive. I think the most annoying part to me personally was how they'll make their complaints and it'll make it viral or be on morning news or some shit, and if I complain, no one would care. Plus, I was out of work for months because of it, ended up realizing my ex and I were completely incompatible, and also didn't ever have my best interest in mind. Good that we broke up, hard as fuck coming to terms with it under the circumstances. A good friend of mine hung himself, and I had to put down a cat. Didn't see me even complaining about it. Until now, I guess, but no one would have given a fuck if I had. I certainly wouldn't have been surrounded by a bunch of yes men who get my dumb, unimportant to everyone else, out of touch takes out into the public consciousness. And even if I did have those talented yes men, at least my complaint wouldn't have been, sigh, I can't believe I'm stuck in my big house with all this money and can't party. Then a bunch of celebrities sang a Weird Al song to parody the John Lennon group. Truly, there's no problem that can't be overcome when you get a bunch of celebrities together to sing something Weird Al Yankovic. Somehow not the worst thing Gal Gadot was in 2020. I was so afraid of sneezing and coughing in public spaces, cause people normally started to give you some weird looks. The alcohol distilleries that turned into hand sanitizer manufacturers almost overnight. I regret not grabbing that obvious vodka bottle, which was filled and labeled as hand sanitizer, at the gas station back in 2020. It was cool to see all the trends too, like we all started baking bread and riding a bicycle. It was cute. Grocery stores trying to get you to follow arrows on the floor. I worked at Walmart neighborhood market during the pandemic. We gave up on the arrows pretty damn quickly. The funniest part about that to me was how people were so proud about going the wrong way, wearing their mask under their mouth and making eye contact with every person wearing a mask correctly, like their last stand for American freedom was about to go down at the Safeway. All the talk about people being essential when in reality we were just expendable. Expendable until hospitals are understaffed and grocery stores are bare and no one is delivering takeout and Amazon. Then it becomes no one wants to work and quiet quitted. Being an essential worker and still get shit up. We're in this together turned real quick into why nobody wants to work anymore. The politicization of it all. Never let a crisis go to waste. No one out in public. How people who were considered essential, healthcare, retail workers, farmers, had to keep working without any pay increases while everyone else stayed home and got paid. The rich just got richer too. The lockdowns may have come from a place of good intentions, but they quickly turned into the middle class and rich having staycations while essential workers kept working to enable their isolation. The utter helplessness I felt having to watch my mother die from COVID through a window in the hospital hallway, listening to her last breath on a speakerphone. She died 12/15/2020, the day after the first public vaccine was given. She was ready to wait till the vaccine like it was a TV on Black Friday. Essential V's, non-essential employees, and the division it caused and still causes in the workplace. Shopping at grocery stores at 6 a.m. and being back home in 45 minutes. Had to follow the arrows on the floor so you weren't too close to someone else. Vaccines versus no vaccines. Making it political. Masks, no masks. Honestly, a great time to be the introvert I always was. Clapping for the NH to later get pissed off when they ask for a reasonable pay increase. I never understood the sourdough starter craze. We get locked in our homes for a few weeks, and suddenly everyone's baking bread. People wanted to bake, but yeast was hard to find, so a lot of people turned to making their own sourdough, which utilizes wild yeast. I fell into the trap. I got quite good at it, for a while anyway, and still have my rye sourdough starter that I made in 2020 named Rye and Rendell. I had one made from all-purpose white flour I named Betty White. But like the real Betty White, she died. I don't know you, but the fact that you name your starters makes me love you. You're my friend. For me, how it further divided America instead of being more of a unifier. We have a pandemic every 100 years or so, right around the 20s, and we've had like 15 years of experts saying that the next big world-changing event would be a pandemic, and then the worldwide medical organizations who monitor pandemics were like, "Hi guys, we have a pandemic." We're like, "Hi guys, we have a pandemic coming," and people were still like, "This has got to be fake. Why have I never heard of pandemics before?" I had a friend argue with me that the definition of pandemic had been changed so that it could apply to COVID-19. I asked her to find the definition in the textbooks she was referring to. She unfriended me instead. COVID denial was strange. Realizing a lot of people I know are idiots. It's not surprising, but I am disappointed at how poorly the governments were prepared. There was no logic applied to anything. What a mess. The double standards. It was bad. I remember when things started relaxing. I had an outdoor bee with my siblings that had been quarantining. My ex showed up and exploded about how I'm killing the kids. I was like, "Hello, weren't you at karaoke night last night, aerosolizing in a closed bar?" That was different. She'd done it magically right. We found out everyone who's a self-righteous hypocrite in a real quick manner during COVID.